Testing, testing.
Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Priya.
Hi, how are you,
Yeah,
Kathy?
good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Can you guys see me okay and hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just doing the same too. Hi, Louisa.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Sorry.
Everyone's from home.
Yeah.
No, I'm in the office.
Oh, you're in the office? Oh, hi.
Hi.
At least you're getting out of the house for a bit.
Yeah, it's 130 steps from home to the office.
Oh, so not that much.
No.
No, I'm going from the living room to the couch.
Hi, Paul. How you going?
Yeah, good.
That's
Well,
good.
Yeah, difficult question at this time, isn't it?
It is, and it's hard. It's kind of a lot, you know, we all know what the response is, but it's also really important just to check in, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
So, guys, we've actually got 39 people registered for today's Zoom call, which is absolutely overwhelming. So thanks to everyone for joining us. So we might just give everybody a moment to connect and see our screens fill up before we commence. Anybody got a drink? I'm making the most of this opportunity.
Yeah, mine's just still water. Still water till 5.
I've got some pina coladas in the freezer for tonight when my kids are in bed.
Oh, lovely. I've started early. School's knocked off in the Ramsey household for today. So.
Love it.
So this makes a shitload of stuff.
Are you coming, Andrew? I just don't want to put my face up there.
We're all up here.
Yeah, we are.
All right, I'll join.
Hi, Nicole.
Hello, hang on. I didn't realise you could hear me.
So we'll just give it a couple of more minutes just to see who else is going to connect in, and then we can launch and kick us off.
I'm going to tidy my room first.
Yeah. You always look at the back of your room.
Yeah, it's like, oh goodness.
Where's everybody from? Do we? We've obviously got Priya and Louisa from our partner Hood Sweeney, but perhaps if we want to just flick around while we're waiting for everybody to connect, to give Priya and Louisa an idea of whereabouts we're connecting from in South Australia. I'll start with you, Susan.
I'm from Blinman, which is 500 odd kilometres north of Adelaide. Small town of 16 permanent residents.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's.
And Paul?
From Kangaroo Island Wilderness Tours, but currently isolated in Adelaide with a 5 or 6 day bearded growth as a protest against COVID.
I love it.
Why have all the men decided to grow beards in protest? Because it's not the first time I've heard this in this week.
No, it's our silent protest, and we don't have to go out anywhere. So.
I love it. And Tina, where can you share with us where you're from? Oh, can anybody else hear Tina? I just can't seem to hear you through the audio.
This is just started the webinar. No, my phone's ringing. Hang on.
No, I'm sorry, Tina. We can't seem to hear you. We'll give you a couple of minutes to fix your audio. We'll come back to you.
Okay, no worries.
Oh, that might be better, Tina.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Have you got me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
12 cottages and vineyards.
And Kirsten?
Kristen?
Kristen, oh, my apologies.
That's okay. I'm from under the Melrose in Southern Flinders Ranges.
Oh, lovely.
149 k's from Adelaide.
Oh, great. Hi, Fiona. How you going?
Good, thanks.
That's good.
I'm from Kangaroo Island, so I'm currently at Island Beach, where we've just had a pleasant little shower. We've had all weather conditions here today.
Oh, have you? I'm sure we're bracing ourselves. I think it's coming across.
Yeah.
Coming across to Adelaide. Has it hit you guys yet over on the Eyre Peninsula?
Yeah, it's about 10 mil today so far.
Oh, wow. Great.
Lucky.
And Andrew, just want to share with the team where you're from?
Well, Calypso Star Charters, and it's the first time in my life I couldn't care less how windy it is.
Absolutely. And Robbie, hi, how you going? Oh, I can't seem to hear you, Robbie. Apologies there. Can anybody else hear Robbie?
No.
No. That's all right. We might come back to you. How you going, Martin?
Hello, everybody. I'm fine. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Been introduced yet?
Oh, we seem to be struggling with your audio too at the moment, Martin. So we might come back to yourself and Robbie. And Tina, how you going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
That's good.
Just share with the rest of us where you're from.
McLaren Vale Motel and Apartments in the Function Centre.
Oh, lovely. And we've also got Stella, Emily and myself. We're obviously from Tixa and all connecting remotely. And then we've also got Priya and Louisa from our partner, Hood Sweeney. So great that you guys can join us today. And yeah, I'm just going to go a collective tears because it's I'm so green. I think we all need it after, every week's a case of survival. So I think we should all just pat ourselves on the back and, we credit deserved. Everybody's still smiling through this. So I'm just going to go over and announce. So Priya and Louisa, as I said, are our partners from Hood Sweeney, who are our accounting firm with Tixa. So we've brought them on board today to unpack and provide some clarity on the government stimulus packages, because I'm sure we're all feeling a little bit, there's been information overload, particularly in the last 3 weeks, and these guys are the experts in the field. So I'm going to throw straight to Priya and Louisa. So thanks, guys, for spending some of your time to connect and unpack this for us.
Priya, just before you start, guys, it might be easy if everyone just mutes their microphone. And if you've got a question or you want to chat, you just unmute yourself, because then we won't get all the background noise. Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's great. And we can also, if you click on the chat function, thanks, Louisa, click on the chat function at the bottom. If you've got any questions, let's just pop them on that, type them into the chat, and then Louisa and Priya can address them that way as well, just to keep it as seamless as possible for everybody.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kathy, and thanks, Louisa. That's nice to say the same thing. So thanks, everyone, for coming today. And although it's really challenging and unprecedented times with the fires and now the coronavirus and all the impact and economic, and I know the restrictions that have come out of this have really impacted your industry and just subsequently just what we're trying to go through and deal with right now. It's just, like they said, it's like 100 years since this has last happened. Unfortunately, we're all going through this, we're working through together. So just before start though, I just thought I'd introduce ourselves a little bit. So Louisa and I are two of the leaders of the food and hospitality operations at Hood Sweeney, and so we've also got clients in the not-for-profit space, the retail space. We've got some government clients, and so that's really where our sort of the work that we do. Hood Sweeney, we're a South Australian firm, and we have about 40 years experience. We've been around 130 staff, offices in Adelaide, Clare, Borough and Medina. So we're very well localised and very much part of the South Australian industry. We've got a number of service lines, so even though Louisa and I are accountants, we also work with consulting and performance coaches, financial planning, technology services, finance, people and culture consulting, and branding and marketing advisory. So just thought I'd let you know, because we are partners with TIXA, and just so you're aware of the sort of services we provide. We specialise, we really try and focus on a number of specialty segment lines in our firm. Besides retail, we've got a pretty thriving agribusiness practice, we've got a wine practice, a food and hospitality team, and we also work with the health team. So today is, we understand this is Friday night drinks, and we want to have a chat. This is not a formal presentation. Sorry, Active Ed, the sound isn't brilliant. Can you hear me better if I just move a bit closer? So we also, I guess today what we wanted to do is have an informal chat with you. Happy to take questions as we go. What we wanted to do is really just provide some guidance. Really conscious about the fact that there's so much noise and media right now about these government stimulus packages, and trying to understand what's the detail and the issues that are faced with each government stimulus package. Obviously, Louisa and myself, we also wanted to share some of the conversations we're having with clients, some of the work we're doing, because obviously in the last week and a lot of these sort of packages and questions, this has become a bit of our life, this is our clients and other people in this area. So what we might do, we didn't want to make this a formal presentation, no slides, just have a chat. So please ask lots of whatever questions you're going. The ones we thought about talking about today was really, Louisa will start off talking a bit about the cash flow booster and ATO tax relief for businesses. I'll talk about the job seeker and the payroll tax, and then Louisa will sort of discuss the liquor licensing. Obviously there's a lot of things going on, so happy other questions about other things that affecting you and your industry in particular, or otherwise after this contact details, and Hood Sweeney sort of provides a complimentary session for all the TIXA members, so we'll talk about that at the end. But if you've got any questions you want to talk about your personal circumstance afterwards, please feel free to contact us after today or next week. Louisa, I might get you to start if that's okay, and talk a bit about some of the cash flow booster and ATO tax relief. Unless anyone's got any questions just before we start. Okay.
All right. I was just having a look as well at some of the questions you guys have, or your key topics for discussion. How many of you actually have employees? There are a few of you. No? Yeah. Okay. I can only see like so many people on the top screen. So yeah. Okay, cool. So look, there's been a fair bit in the media about the cash flow booster. This was from the first stimulus package that came through. So I think this week there's been a lot more focus on the job keeper and job seeker stuff. But we have had some clients be a little bit just confused on how to work. So basically, if you've got employees and you're lodging BAS returns with pay-as-you-go withholding, you're essentially eligible to, and you're a small business, which I'm assuming that all of you guys are, you are eligible to receive between $10,000 and $100,000 essentially between now and October. So the first 50,000 max is up until the end of June. So it'll start from this March quarter that's just finished. And the second tranche will start in the September quarter. But you might get it monthly if you lodge monthly. You just have to have turnover of less than 50 million, carrying on a business and have employees. So I know that a few of you have made comments about what are sort of the payments we get if we don't have employees. But this one is specifically related to get in some cash flow for you guys. Does anyone have any questions on how that'll all work? Maybe just type them in or unmute yourself. We haven't obviously lodged any BASs yet, but the information that we have received from the ATO is that the credits will be applied once the BAS has been lodged, and they're not looking at applying those until sort of towards the end of April when the BASs are due. So even if you prepare a BAS now, or your accountant prepares your BAS now, you'll still look like you have amounts to pay. But what we're hoping is that once the ATO assesses them towards the end of the month, those credits will come through, and then that'll obviously reduce your amounts payable. Okay. With the tax relief stuff, so the ATO have just released a few different things that they're doing just to help, I guess, with businesses and their cash flow. So there's a couple of things in relation to, I don't know if any of you guys have companies, and if you're required to pay like a quarterly pay-as-you-go tax installment towards your next tax debt. But if you do have that, you actually are able to vary the March pay-as-you-go installment to nil. And if you have made any payments in the December or September quarter, you are actually able to get those refunded back to you. So obviously that can help with cash flow. If you have a tax debt on the other side, you're still going to have to pay it. But the reality is tax debts won't be due really until generally March and May next year. So it does just give you, it's just a deferral essentially. And they won't, obviously, the ATO won't penalise you for getting the refunds now and having to pay the tax later. Oh, okay, sorry. So I've just seen Susan's question. We are not-for-profit. Yeah, so the not-for-profits are working the same way as businesses. Are you talking about in relation to the cash flow booster for pay-as-you-go withholding?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So it works the same way. So small not-for-profit entities will be entitled to that money as well. And no, it's not a actual payment to the business. So what will happen is, if once your credits are applied, there is excess funds, we understand the ATO will refund them to you. However, if you've got other outstanding debt, the ATO will apply it to that debt, but it won't be like a lump sum coming into your bank account. It'll just offset what you have to pay the ATO. Loss of biz. Yeah, okay. So everyone can see what people are writing.
Louisa, I might just quickly jump in and answer a question there for Tina.
Yeah, that's
so, Tina, I'm not quite sure if you've been privy to the SATC announcement today. Have you seen that announcement for small business tourism granting? And basically the messaging behind that, and I can flick you the link to that if you want that, Tina. Sure, I'll flick it to everybody with some notes at the end of this Zoom call. But the SATC have announced a grants application, and the eligibility is a small business registered in South Australia. You must be listed on the ATD TDW website. Obviously established as a small business or sole operator, and that you're active within the 2018-19 financial year, greater than 100,000 and less than 1 million turnover. So basically there's two streams for a micro business and a small business. So a micro business is up to 500,000, a maximum payment of 5,000. And a small business up to $1 million for a $10,000 payment. So the South Australian Tourism Commission has just announced that today, and are taking all applications for that through their website. And I'll flick you the details, guys, with some information on the end of this Zoom call. So that could potentially help Tina offset loss of revenue for you. I know it's not, probably doesn't continually cancel out the loss of revenue you've had over the last for March and April, but hopefully it's something to help contribute towards that.
Can you hear me, Kathy? Can you hear me? You can't hear me?
No, sorry, I can't hear you, Tina, but feel free to pop it in the message if that helps.
In terms of other funding at the moment that's been announced, nothing specific with our employees other than, you can get some assistance with payment plans with the ATO. There are some loans, government-backed loans that you can potentially get, but unfortunately nothing else at this stage. I mean, look, they've said that you can get a write-off for assets purchased up to 150,000, but I very much doubt that a lot of businesses are going to have the cash flow to go out and buy new assets anyway. But yeah, at this stage, no.
Thanks, Joel, for sharing that too. I did have a look at the process to complete that grant today as well, and it looked a fairly straightforward process, which is pleasing because I understand, Robbie, sometimes it is a particular task to write a grant application, but I did have a look at that today, and it looks like they've very much kept it a quite a simple and straightforward process as well. So lovely. I might flick it back to yourself, Louisa or Priya.
Yeah. I mean, did anyone else have any questions about the tax reliefs, the ATO tax relief, or the stimulus payment through the pay-as-you-go withholding? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. I might pass it over to Priya. She's going to talk a bit about the JobKeeper, which I think a few of you also flagged as something that you wanted to cover.
Sorry, I'll just quickly jump in before you start there, Priya, just acknowledging a couple of those questions there. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, there hasn't been anything announced if you're just under the 100K. And yeah, Tina, I really do. I can understand that it doesn't go far, but yes, at this stage, I'm just appreciative that we've got something has been delivered to our industry in the early phase of it. And I'm sure we can see something, hopefully, more happen in this space as we move through what we're still essentially in the emergency period, but as we definitely work through the recovery. But I'm really pleased to see the South Australian Tourism Commission be really responsive, and Sean, our Chief Executive, has been instrumental in advocating for this for our members. And I can, he is a part of the Premier's, he's actually in a meeting right now with the Premier. That's why he can't join us today, but he is quite active in that space and a part of the recovery committee for this. So we're doing the best we can to advocate for everybody in this space, and hopefully we can continue to deliver some positive news for that for you guys. I'll hand it over to yourself now, Priya. Thanks, guys.
No, thanks, Kathy. Now, as you guys would be aware, literally Monday night, the JobKeeper payment came through, and just a fact sheet came through, and the government's putting that through. So just a caveat. So first of all, the JobKeeper payment, it's really just a subsidy from the government at the moment. So basically, they will pay, starting from May, they will pay your employees, any eligible, and if you're an eligible employer who's affected by the coronavirus. Now, just a caveat on that, the legislation has actually not been passed yet. So there is a little bit of detail. Some of the information is a little bit scant, but happy to answer questions as much as I can today. The legislation, we believe, is sitting at Parliament today, and from there, they'll be able to provide a little bit more detail and some of the guidance and some of the questions. So really, at the moment, the main thing that needs to be done, if you are interested in this scheme or this, this payment, we just need to register your interest. So you just need to register your interest on the ATO website. All you need to do is go onto the ATO website. You just need your ABN, you need a contact name and a business name. So it's very easy at the moment. It's open for registration. And then after the Parliament's gone, the legislation's come through Parliament next week, you'll be then able to provide your details about how to prove a few of the criteria, which I'll just run through now. Just one thing to be aware of this, because I don't think it's as clear as it is, and a lot of the clients have been having discussions, especially the ones who have really just had such a decrease in income in the last couple of weeks. One thing just to be aware, that if you do decide to use this payments scheme, and you do decide to keep your employees on, you do still need to pay them till May yourself from a cash flow. So keep that in mind from a cash flow point of view. What will happen is you keep paying your employees till May. First week of May, the ATO will then make payments for those employees, and they'll backdate the payments till the 30th of March. So I think in all the stuff that's going on at the moment, that's not come out as very clear. So at this stage, just something to be aware of, because I know a lot of our clients really wanted to use this. We've been doing a lot of 13-week cash flow statements for our clients, and we've just realised they can't afford to keep some of the employees on, even for the next month, with the sort of cash flow they've got at the moment. So just something to be aware of as part of this process. The government legislation be enacted. Just one thing to, at this stage, we understand it's on Wednesday, Parliament's going to be sitting to go through it, and we're hoping that it will get resolved quite quickly. So at this stage, a lot of the information is still just on fact sheets and information, and I'll go through some of it today. But just wanting to be aware, just be aware, just from a timing point of view, you don't get paid till May. Okay. If so I'm just reading questions as we're going. Oh, sorry, should flash you next week. Yep. Thanks, Louisa. So just to be clear on this one, I know a couple of questions have asked, and we've got clients who own businesses who are sole traders. We've got some not-for-profits, and obviously we've got trading entities. This JobKeeper payment applies for all of those entities. So whether you're a sole trader, whether you're a not-for-profit, or whether you are just a trading entity, you're still considered to be an eligible business. So it's a business with a turnover of less than $1 billion, which is a lot of obviously most of you guys. The other thing is you really have to be able to prove to show a drop in turnover for 30% for pretty much March to March last year. So that's pretty straightforward if you've had a business for more than a year. So where there's a little bit of confusion and a little bit of, not confusion as such, but speculation at the moment, we've got clients who have asked me this question and they started their business in October last year. So one of the issues we've got to just get some clarity from the government is how do you prove 30% turnover? And I guess this is the legislation next week. How do you prove 30% turnover when you haven't been trading for a year? So you don't have a comparable period from March last year. And even we all know that when you start up a business, it takes a few months. So there's just a little bit of speculation there, not as clear as it can be, but again, watch this space, and maybe after the legislation, I know if there's more questions or more things, we can always do, I guess, this a drink session like this later on for you guys to provide you some more information. And again, like I said, it does include self-employed people too, because I know a lot of businesses are wondering, can they get it being self-employed? Just some other things. Did anyone have any questions about whether you're an eligible business or not? Or did I cover some of the criteria to be, first of all, an eligible business, and then secondly, we have to determine which employees can be covered by that?
So I might just add in there, if you do have any casual employees, because sometimes in these industries there are, if they haven't been there for 12 months, they're actually not eligible at this stage. That's the information we're receiving. But they can potentially go and apply for the job seeker, which is basically for unemployed people. So the job keeper will only apply for permanent, full-time and casual staff that have worked with you for longer than 12 months.
Thanks, Louisa. So, and just one other thing, just about which other employees are covered. They have to currently be employed, even if stood down or you did get reduce their employment a few weeks ago and you've rehired them. And they also have to be on the books at 1st of March 2020. So that's a critical date, because we've just had a client who unfortunately, all their paperwork and everything, they hired the person on the 2nd of March and they want to keep them on. So unfortunately by a day, but again, we're going to see what happens when the legislation comes through. We've also got, as Louisa said, it needs to be full-time or part-time employees and long-term casual employers who've been employees who've been employed longer than a year from the 1st of March 20. So as long as they've been long-term employees and they were there about a year ago, they'd still be covered. The other thing just to be aware of, they also can't be getting a Centrelink benefit. So you do have to just make sure that they are just employed by yourself. They can't be employed by another person and have 2 JobKeeper payments, because we've got a couple of restaurants who have both, and they also can't be getting Centrelink benefits. You don't get the benefit of both, unfortunately. So some of our employers are starting to talk, the ones that they want to keep on, they just want to make sure this doesn't affect any Centrelink benefits or anything for the employee itself.
Yeah, Paul, that is a concern, and that's definitely coming up with all of our clients. They're saying, you know, how do we pay them all for March when the first payment's not going to come through till April? We don't know yet whether in May, we don't know whether they're going to always pay a month behind or they're going to part pay. We just don't have that information yet. But yeah, that's definitely a concern, and they would be hearing that, I would think. But unfortunately, don't have much more for you at the moment for that.
Yeah, I just make a brief comment. I've spoken to a lot of people about this and rang a number of the members of Parliament's officers about it. Our debt's been extended because of the bushfire and now into COVID. And yeah, I'm pretty reluctant to go out and then borrow. You know, we've got a reasonably significant workforce of up to 20 that are actually not working at the moment. So in essence, we would be borrowing money to pay to employees that are not working.
And if that's the case, potentially they're the employees that may be eligible to go for the job seeker.
Yeah.
So they go directly to Centrelink for that rather than it coming through you.
Yeah, I'm really desperate to do the right thing by our employees. But to be honest, I just can't afford to carry any more debt.
Yeah, and Paul, that's to be honest, the last week or so, that's the conversations I'm having with a lot of our clients. They want to do the right thing. These people have been on their books for ages, and they don't want to get rid of people if this is going to. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, but making that decision is probably before everyone gets excited, register. But you have to think about this quite seriously for the next month. Can you afford to pay them?
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah. So I guess the only other issue I had with this one is just to know what the next step is. So really, once legislation gets passed next week, and you are interested in applying for this JobKeeper payment, so for those who are can afford to pay their staff, I mean, I know it's a really tough decision, a difficult one, and again, more than happy to take conversations offline for this. After that, you will then need to do an online application. You'll need to provide the supporting documentation of showing the downturn of your business and also details of who are the eligible employees employed by businesses on a monthly basis. So hopefully that'll get enacted Wednesday next week, and then from there you can start applying for the process. Just for those who are self-employed, just wanted to make a comment about that, because obviously you guys don't really have employees as such all the time, but you can nominate an individual. One individual from that can get it, and all you need to do is provide their tax file number and provide detail of the downturn, of how it's been a downturn, and also a monthly update to the ATO to keep showing that you're eligible for this payment.
One thing I'll pop in and let everybody know, and we've sort of given some detail mentioned to it, but obviously there's still a little bit of a grey area in relation to the JobKeeper until this legislation gets passed. Hood Sweeney have kindly offered all our members a 1-hour free consultation. So, you know, this is an opportunity to take some conversations and further questioning offline. Reach out to Priya or Louisa, particularly as we get a bit of clarification in this grey area next week. But we can also look to deliver another, you know, we're hosting these starting to host these sessions every week, and we can look to re-engage Hood Sweeney to deliver some further information once we know the detail from the government as well, guys.
Yep. And one other thing that's coming out next week, Scott Morrison just did a press conference today. I know I don't have any detail, but this is just something Kathy, me and Louisa were talking about today. Just to know, I guess the other one is rent relief at the moment. I know that's been a big topic of conversation. Scott Morrison's just did a press conference today and saying that at this stage, potentially on Tuesday, an industry code will come out with some guidance on the rent relief. Don't have the detail, but just to, I know a lot of people are realising this information is coming out about some of this stuff, but that's going to happen on Tuesday. At this stage, we were told today from Scott Morrison. Okay. And I guess one other one before Louisa jumps into just about for those who might be affected by liquor licensing, just some payroll tax relief. Just to let you know, this is the other JobKeeper payment and all that is a federal subsidy, but from a state subsidy point of view, we've got the payroll tax relief. So look, anyone who's got payroll tax, taking out the exceptions that we've already had, like the current state government and SA revenue, all those payroll tax concessions done a year ago are still in place. But on top of that, we've got payroll tax for those with group wages up to 4 million will receive automatic 6-month payroll tax waiver. So if you've got that issue where you're still paying payroll tax monthly, we just do it as part of the annual tax reconciliation process. You still need to do monthly payroll tax statements, but you don't need to actually make a payment after that. So you still need to capture your wages, but there's no payment at this stage. And it's an automatic waiver.
Thanks, Priya. I just want to talk about a couple of these questions on the side. So, Tina's written up the top here. What about contract labour? For example, engaging a gardening company. Do you have much clarity on that yet, Priya?
No, really at the moment they're just talking about employees, not really contract workers at this stage, but hopefully something will come out on Wednesday about that. I'm sorry, they're really just talking about people who are employees, not as much contract workers at this stage.
And in relation to the comment about superannuation, if they're on, I know we can't assume, but I assume if government are paying the JobKeeper, it is basically those payments as per normal to superannuation contributions. What's your understanding in relation to that?
This is the one that I'm interested to hear what happens, to be honest, Kathy, because they've made a comment that has said it's up to the employer if you want to pay super. But my issue with that is if you don't pay super, there's super audits and, guarantee, and there's legislation around that. So they're saying they haven't given that much clarity about work cover and super on top of these employer payments. They're saying it's up to the employer. But we all know that if you don't pay super, you can get super audits. So that one, watch this space. There's no clarification on that at the moment because they're saying it's up to the employer. But the last thing we want to say is it's up to you guys to pay, and then you have a super audit and have problems later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So we'll just hold it.
To be honest, watch that space.
Watch this space and see what sort of comes out in some messaging from, say, Wednesday, Thursday next week.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Has anybody else got any questions? Feel free to unmute. If you've got any other questions you want to flick open to Priya just before we sort of round up talking about this job seeker and JobKeeper, payment.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No, that's all.
Peter here.
Thanks, Joel, for that comment.
Just a comment from the Tourism Australia webinar today. My understanding was from the tax office person, I think it was, that you're obligated to pay super on the whatever going rate you were paying. You don't have to pay on any extra money you're putting into the JobKeeper worker. So there's an ongoing obligation for the baseline, and ideally many people will pay the extra on the extra money. That's if people are getting less than $750 a week from you, or more than, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Peter. Anybody else got anything else they want to contribute or ask Priya before we move back to Louisa?
Just touching back on that super one, I think again it's really unfortunate, but because we don't have the legislation yet, I think we just don't want to say too much about it because, what they're saying today could change next week. So that's definitely going to be the next lot of questions. I think next week that'll be the next part, how delving into how this actually works. What happens if those people don't earn $750 a week, or and the superannuation implications, and who's captured in those payments, etc.
On that note, Louisa, do you want to, and I like Joel's timing about talking about alcohol, do you want to talk about the liquor licensing stuff?
You took the words out of my mouth there, Priya. Great, absolutely. And thanks, Joel. I'm certainly enjoying a knockoff drink. I don't know if you can see, but you can hear me, and I'm making the most of it. Good to see you guys too. Oh, cheers, Peter. Lovely. Over to you, Louisa.
I just wanted to mention a couple of things about the liquor license, which I'm sure if you've got one, you would already know this, but obviously the annual licensing fees for 2021 have been waived for a number of the liquor license categories. So depending on which category you fall into, there are free short-term licenses for sale of takeaway liquor, which was a very interesting thing that's happening, but I think it's really good as well. And just all the information on the liquor licensing stuff is obviously available at cbs.gov.au. But I would assume that if you do have a liquor license, you would know this information. So I don't know how much that affects anyone. But there's just a few reliefs there.
Sorry, can I just ask a question? Sorry, my name's Jamie. I came in late. I do apologise. I'm
That's
from
okay.
the city of Coringa in SA, and just with the comment you just made then about the fees being waived for the liquor licenses, for 2021. Are fees done on a calendar year or a financial year? So would that just be...
Yeah, I'm actually not sure. I don't know, because we don't really deal a lot with liquor licensing. Their website just says for 2021, for a number of liquor license categories, the fees would be waived. So for whatever period, yeah, I'm not. Does anyone else have a liquor license that can add to that? Due June in each year, so for the next 12 months. Yeah, so it looks like it's a financial year, not an annual calendar year.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So does anyone have any questions about anything else, or anyone want to?
I was going to say, let's just pop it to the floor. If anybody's got any questions, either unmute or pop it in the chat. We can work through this, and you know, if you want something in more detail, we can always take the conversation offline with Priya and Louisa. Oh, thanks. That's a great question. So Robbie asking, how do we contact you? So in terms of Priya and Louisa, I will send out an email to everybody on the conclusion of this Zoom call, so you guys can get in direct contact with Priya and Louisa to have any other further conversations.
Ed, that question there, yeah, again, not sure. I don't think that they're doing this for people to, you know, be greedy. It's more to help employers where it's more to help the employees where employers have either had to stand down their employees, so they're not working at all, or they are still continuing to keep them on working, but they're obviously their cash flow suffering. So, I mean, I don't know whether I'm hoping that that'll be addressed, but I'd say that there's probably not a huge amount of possibility that a lot of people will get more work at the moment.
Can I make a comment on that one, Louise? That my investigation into this, it has to be your primary employer.
Yes.
And you can only claim from one place, and you have to have had work from that property for that place, that employer, for 12 months.
Yeah, but I think the question was, what if they are doing that, but they get another casual part-time job somewhere else? Can they be earning wages somewhere else plus still getting the $1,500?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So that's what we're not.
Misunderstood the question. Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And we might just quickly skip down to, Robbie, I can understand that it's hard to pay the cleaner and admin, but, you know, and your motel is just beautiful. It's hard to, it's all a balancing game, isn't it, of expenses when no income is coming in. And I'm sure Louisa and Priya have been having lots of conversations in this space with their clients.
We've had a lot of clients that have said to us, you know, they haven't been forced to close, and they're saying, do we just close anyway? Because, you know, and I've actually had a couple of clients that have said to me, I'm glad I'm in an industry where they've just closed us, because, you know, before they closed us, we were just umming and ahhing. What do we do? Do we continue? Do we pause for a bit? It's a really tricky situation to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where people, like you said, sometimes when the decision gets made for someone, it's a lot easier rather than trying to weigh it up yourself. But it's obviously just weighing up that balance sheet. Just flicking through to Tina. Yeah, absolutely. We're aiming to do these webinars each week, engaging our partners. And I think the collective sentiment from this will be, and I'm sure yourself and many other people who are on this call today, is going, once we have that detail on that job keeper and that's passed through Parliament, I'd love to connect us all and get that information from Priya and Louisa to share that information and give us a little bit more clarity. However, you know, I've learnt some great things already today, which has been lovely. I'm just having a quick flick through this group chat and having a look at some of the questions. Yes.
Tina, so with your question, other tasks than what they normally do, I think that's the plan. If you're still open, so the conversation we've had with some of our clients, but again, if something changes in the legislation when it gets passed next week, we can provide more information. But what we've said to some clients is, where those employees now can't do the job that they were doing before, if you've got other stuff for them to do, get them to do it, you know, still get them engaged, coming in, doing some work. But yeah, again, I would think so, because better that they are coming in and doing something than not doing anything at all. But whether yeah, what the legislation allows and doesn't allow, I'm not sure.
Absolutely. And yeah, I agree, Nicole, with you about being able to claim under one employer from the tax-free threshold. Is that correct, Priya?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So if you've got an employer who works for two different people, they have to, the employee makes the choice at the time, and then they only claim it from you or the other employer. So you can't have two tax-free thresholds.
Yeah, Joel, yeah, that's exactly right. While it's a really crappy time, what we've just been saying to clients as well is, what jobs haven't you done that you've been meaning to get to for a long time? You know, like things like that. Like what can you be out there doing? You know, we've got clients that have got yards, like tidy up your yard, get stuff in order, get your policies in order, your policies and your procedures. You know, if you've got a few staff, have a, you know, review all of those type of things, you know. What's your strategy when you're going to come out, when we're going to come out of this? Do you want to do something differently? What's your business plan? Like, so there's a, you know, as an actual business owner, there are a few things that you can start to do just to, I guess, to get through it. And it's going to maybe give you some time to do things that you wouldn't have had time for a few months ago.
And even for us, the team in Tixter, you would have seen some messaging coming out from our chairman, Owen, in the last sort of week, but we've obviously all taken reduced salaries and reduced hours, and it's just our tasks, but we're committed to keeping business as usual. So it's about us collectively working together and sharing those tasks that, you know, might have not been traditionally under job specs, but it's just a really team approach and keeping business as usual, but identifying projects we can work on, because the positive message is the recovery is going to be there. We know, unfortunately at the moment, we don't know the end point, but we know this isn't going to continue for 3 years. There is going to be an end point, and there's going to be a recovery out of it. And what I'm really confident is, I think domestic tourism will recover quite positively, because there will be that apprehension to go overseas as well. So it's that great opportunity to work on your business, and you know, our Tixter team are trying to deliver some great programs, including our online workshop we've opened up this week to help you guys work on your programs so we can be positioned for the recovery, but also try and support everybody through the means of these webinars, to deliver information and clarity, to help us all get through and survive this emergency period as well.
I have actually noticed, and Priya will be able to say the same, we actually are receiving quite a few emails as well from lawyers this week, just about employment law and how things are changing, and there are clauses being added into awards, etc., to cover coronavirus, because it's just such a new thing. So I think there's something in the awards being added in about coronavirus leave. So if you're forced to self-isolate or you become sick from it or whatever, there's some additional leave being added into some of these awards. So there's a lot of changing things, like things are just changing constantly every day, and everyone's just trying to, you know, oh, this hasn't been covered, or we've got to work something out for that. So it's a, yeah.
And that's a great point, Louisa. We've just speaking, our lawyer partners are Woolmans, and I've been in touch with them in the last couple of days. So there is an employee relations topic they're going to connect and deliver in the next sort of coming weeks, and also one about just contracts and cancellations and postponements and how to deal with that in a business, and what the laws are around that as well. So it's just a matter of us balancing delivering you guys this information, as also the information is being messaging from the government as well, and trying to get everything so current to you guys, to the membership base as well.
And on that point, if there are any other sort of topics that are like we're happy to take conversations offline, but if there's anything that a lot of you guys are feeling, obviously Hood Sweeney, we're committed to having these sessions with you guys, and we can get the right person talking. So even if it's not accounting or government stimulus packages, if it's finance or something, just let us know.
Thanks, Priya. We appreciate that support. Guys, is there any more questions people want to throw out? Otherwise, we can just look to wrap this up, and I've just seen a question here pop up from Teagle. What is the legal position where OTA are enforcing operators to do refunds rather than a change of due date? So For anybody who's not privy, OTA is an online travel agent. That's what that acronym. Yeah, great question, Robbie. Sorry, great question, Tina. I'm actually dealing with Woolmans at the moment, so I'm actually writing that question down, and I'll get some clarity with you on that. Our topic is all about this cancellation with Woolmans next week, so please watch this space, and because I'm sure it's affecting everybody, and let's just watch this space, and I can get some clarity on that one for you. Absolutely.
This might be a silly question, but does anybody have business disruption insurance, and does anyone know whether there's any loss of income that can be claimed through your insurance policies? Can't claim, of course. It was worth a try.
Yeah, Paul Brown, we've got business interruption insurance, and we're still working through the process from the bushfires for that. But the advice I've got is that COVID is so big that we won't be able to claim any further business interruption with COVID. And unfortunately, it's also going to put an end to our claim on bushfires, because basically as COVID takes over, it stops the impact of the bushfire.
Oh, and I'm really appreciative of everybody sharing that their commentary around that what everybody's doing with the OTAs and some messaging they're receiving. So I'm making a note of that. And as I said, so we've got Woolmans delivering a topic all about cancellations and postponements next week. So our Zoom call next week will come on next Thursday due to Friday being the public holiday. Let's watch this space, and I will make sure I brief Woolmans on a couple of these topics so we can get some great clarity around where the operators stand, because I come from an operator perspective myself, guys. Prior to joining TIXA last year, I spent 20 years in the hotel industry, so I completely understand some of the challenges you guys are dealing with the OTAs. So and I can help try and get some clear messages and answers for where we stand in relation to that with Woolmans lawyers. Oh, fabulous. Thanks, Susan. I really appreciate that. As I said, this is just a new space for us, but I think what's really important to reflect on in these times is I think community is really important, and I'm really about supporting everybody, because we're not alone through this, and that's something we need to completely remember. But if we can connect in spaces like this, have conversations, it allows you guys to have conversations with your fellow colleagues in the industry as well. I think this is vitally important. It's about supporting each other and taking care of each other. So I want to thank you guys for coming on board today and joining with us to make it happen, because if it wasn't for you guys joining in on these calls, we couldn't facilitate it. And a big thanks to Priya and Louisa from Hood Sweeney, taking your time out of your day today to connect. And certainly I have been delivered some great takeaways, and you've certainly clarified some information for me as well. And really just watch this space. So next week we'll have Woolmans talking about just the perfect topic that everybody wants a bit more clarity on as well. So thank you to you all. Happy Friday. Cheers. We all deserve a well-earned drink. And I will flick you all an email on in the next couple of hours with the contact details for Priya and Louisa. So feel free to reach out to them and have some conversations offline. In the meantime, take care, guys, and stay safe. Have a great week, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next Thursday. See you.
Bye.
Bye.